Now that we've stepped into the world of imaginary numbers, an important part of orienting ourselves within that world will be to get familiar and comfortable with operating on these numbers. We'll start with addition and subtraction, and believe it or not, the rules for adding and subtracting complex numbers follow the same patterns that adding and subtracting real numbers did, or adding and subtracting radicals, or rationals, or other algebraic expressions have. In other words, just like always, adding and subtracting comes down to combining like terms. In the same way that 3 apples plus 4 apples equals 7 apples, and 3/5 plus 4/5 equals 7/5, and 3x plus 4x equals 7x, and 3 root x plus 4 root x equals 7 root x, we'll find the same exact thing with imaginary numbers. In other words, 3i plus 4i will equal 7i. And so keeping in mind that big picture, adding and subtracting complex numbers really just comes down to adding and subtracting the real numbers with other real numbers, and adding and subtracting the imaginary numbers with other imaginary numbers. Now, specifically in the last video, we defined an imaginary number as I, which was equal to the square root of -1. And the full set of complex numbers is almost the same, we just expand on it a bit. We say that the set of complex numbers are the numbers of the form a plus bi, where, as we said last time, I is equal to the square root of -1. A is called the real part of the complex number, so it's called the real part, and B is called the imaginary part. And so if we take two complex numbers, say like 3 plus 2i and 4 plus 6i, and add them together, all we really need to keep in mind is that we need to add the real parts together, in other words, 3 and 4, and add the imaginary parts together, so 2i and 6i, in other words, combine the like terms. So in this case, that means we can rewrite this as 3 plus 4, right, adding those real parts, plus 2i plus 6i, adding those complex parts. And in this case, 3 plus 4 gives us 7, and if we have 2i plus 6i, that's 2 plus 6, or in other words, 8i. And so our final result would be 7 plus 8i. And just like before with all of the previous algebraic objects we've worked with, this works identically with subtraction. For example, if we had -2 plus 6i minus 12 minus 4i, we could once again subtract by adding the real parts with the real parts and the imaginary parts with the imaginary parts, combining the like terms. In this case, of course, because we have these parentheses, it will be important that we distribute that negative. Right, so I'll remind us here to make sure we distribute when needed, but otherwise this will work exactly the same as the previous algebraic expressions we've worked with. So here that will be -2 plus 6i, then minus 12 as we distribute that negative, and then minus -4i or plus 4i, giving us -2 minus 12 as we put the real parts together, plus 6i plus 4i as we combine the imaginary parts together, giving us -2 minus 12 or -14 plus 6 plus 4 or 10i, giving us a final answer of -14 plus 10i. Now this was a quick video, but hopefully that helps give you a sense of how we can add and subtract complex numbers. It really does just boil down to the same principles that we've been working with throughout this entire video series. But as always, if you do have any questions or if there is anything I can do to help, please reach out and let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll talk about how we can multiply complex numbers.